All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, let's get into talking about the Chiefs. So, out of all the games from Divisional Weekend, their game was probably the least entertaining, in my opinion. I did talk about this. Really, the only things I took away from it, and many people took away from it, is just the penalties. But that's not the reason why the Chiefs won. But they are on the doorsteps once again of making the Super Bowl and possibly winning it. And, I had this team accomplishing that, getting back to the Super Bowl and winning their third consecutive Super Bowl. I still believe that is on the table. I mean, it's going to be tough because I don't think, the teams that are left, I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for them. They got to get past Josh Allen, who's an MVP candidate. I mean, they've owned him in the playoffs, but still, all those games, I mean, other than the AFC Championship game during the COVID season, I mean, the other two playoff games, I mean, they were close. So, I expect it to be the same thing when they play against each other on Sunday. And then, on the other side, in the NFC, the Commanders, they are playing really well right now. They're playing some good football. And then you got the Eagles, who you have faced off against. Now, you did beat them in the Super Bowl, but I think this Eagles team is better than that Super Bowl team. I believe that. And then last season, they beat you during the regular season. So, it's if the Chiefs get to the Super Bowl, I mean, obviously they got to get past the Bills, but if they, get past the Bills, I mean, it's not going to be a cakewalk. It's not. But just the fact that what they have been able to do, and I sound like a broken record because I talked about the same thing last year. What they have been able to accomplish is something that we'll probably never see again. Now, with the Patriots, they kind of had two separate eras. They had, the early 2000s, and then they had, the mid to late 2010s, where they went on a run, and Tom Brady won 3 rings, and then he won another ring with the Bucs. And then they kind of just, once Brady left the Patriots, Brady's last year with the Patriots marked the beginning of the Patrick Mahomes era in the AFC. Now, I know there was a little blip, I guess, when Brady beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl, but he was with the NFC. But once Brady left, the AFC shifted to now, okay, this is now the Chiefs conference. And that's really all it's been. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has made it to the AFC Championship game every single year that he's been a starting quarterback. It's unbelievable. And the 2 losses to the Bengals and the Patriots, they came in overtime. So it takes everything to knock this guy off. Now, in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers, well, the Bucs defense, everybody talks about Brady. And Brady did have a good Super Bowl that year. The 3 touchdown passes. But let's be honest. The real reason why the Buccaneers won that Super Bowl was because of their defense. Brady didn't have to be great to win that. Now, if it was a level playing field and, Mahomes was not running for his life, I mean, do the Bucs still win that? Yeah, probably. But I think the game would have been closer had Mahomes not been running for his life the whole game. I don't know. That's just me. But it's because when you look at social media and you just see like, oh yeah, I mean, Mahomes has lost to Brady twice in the playoffs. He'll never, be as good as Brady. Okay, well, the Super Bowl was because of the defense, and then the AFC Championship game, that game went to overtime, and Mahomes didn't even get the ball in overtime. It's not like Brady, blew him out every single time. And look at the regular season. It was even in the regular season. I mean, Mahomes won, I think, 3 out of 4? I mean, the first game they played against each other, the final score was like what? It was, I don't even remember. It was like 40, what was it, 41-38? I don't even think it was that. I think there was even more points. That was the first meeting between the two. Because 2019, I know Mahomes won. 2020, in the regular season, Mahomes won. Um, 2022 Mahomes won. I mean, it's just people act like, Brady like blew Mahomes out every single time. It's not true. But I guess because, he's 2-0 against Mahomes in the playoffs, that means, he's always going to be better. Sorry, this turned into a Brady Mahomes debate. And it's also kind of interesting how you go back to when Mahomes first won the Super Bowl, everybody wanted him to win it. But now everyone's like, all right, that's enough. We're sick and tired of this. Because they just keep winning. All they do is win, win, win. And, that's why you're seeing once again, you're seeing all the Josh Allen edits. And, before that, last week you were seeing all the CJ Stroud edits. Look, some of us have to just take a step back and just appreciate what we're watching. What we are seeing, again, probably never going to happen again. If the Chiefs end up three-peating, I mean, you saw history. Now, if they end up losing against the Bills on Sunday, well, then this conversation doesn't mean anything. But it's pretty special what they have accomplished. And, Mahomes, if he were to retire right now, he's a first-ballot Hall of Famer. He's had a Hall of Fame career in 7 years. He's still got more to go. Now, he could end up having what happened to Brady, where, you go 10 years without winning another ring, and then towards the end of your career, you start up again. Could. But, if he ends up winning one this year, well, he's got 4 rings, which would be one more than Brady from the early part of Brady's career. Which, I mean, again, I'm not trying to stir the pot, but I feel like I kind of did that already in this segment. That's the thing. Mahomes is always going to be compared to Brady. Like, that's always it's always going to be just comparing. And for me, I'm not really about that. I mean, when I was younger, yes, but now it's kind of just, hey, look, Tom Brady, one of the greatest careers of all time, one of the greatest players of all time. Patrick Mahomes is the same deal. At this point, I don't really care who's better. What I care about is, hey, I was able to watch these two guys play. And the other thing, too, is, I mean, you hope that at some point this changes. I kind of want this to change at some point. But, and I believe I brought this up already, but we had parity. Back when you had Breeze, Rodgers, Brady, Peyton, Big Ben, Eli, Joe Flacco, we had parity. Like, there were different, the Patriots were still, in AFC Championship games pretty much every year. But it wasn't always the Patriots winning every single year. We had different quarterbacks get their flowers. And in this Mahomes era, the ones that have won Super Bowls are from, like I said, the previous era. So, who is going to be that quarterback that finally puts themselves, maybe not exactly in the same conversation as Patrick Mahomes, but just it kind of narrows the gap? Could it be Josh Allen? Could it be Jalen Hurts? Could it be Jane Daniels? We'll have to see. But I just think the run that the Chiefs have been on, it's unbelievable. And, I know there's people out there that'll say, oh, because of the penalties, they get the flags to go their way. But it's more than just that. It's more than just that. I will say some of the flags do happen at maybe the worst times. Like, you go back to when they won the Super Bowl against the Eagles. The AFC Championship game against the Bengals, Mahomes gets knocked out of bounds. They throw a flag, a 15-yard penalty, and, they're able to kick a field goal to win the game. And maybe if they don't get in the field goal range, what happens? Do they go to overtime and, Burrow gets the ball first and, what happens? There was more than just that play that dictated that game. It's just that happened at the worst time. And then even the Super Bowl that year against the Eagles. So actually go back to that, where there was that holding call, that took more time off the clock. And then, the Chiefs kicked a field goal with little time left. And, the Eagles really didn't have a shot to go down the field and try to tie the game. It's just things happen at the worst times. But I can't sit here and say, well, don't throw the flag in that moment. I know people say that, but look, if it's a penalty, you're going to throw a flag. Now, I thought some of the flags on Saturday were not the right calls, were bad calls. I mean, you had Troy Aikman and Joe Buck complaining about them too. I mean, when you have two Texans players colliding with each other and Mahomes is underneath and they throw a flag and give a 15-yard penalty, yeah, it's not a good look. But it's also Mahomes doing it, because he knows he can do that. Because he knows that there'll be a flag. Now, I think he said that's not what he's trying to do, but, I mean, some people would disagree with that. But look, everyone talks about the penalties. This team is a great team. They're doing it with the same quarterback, same head coach, same tight end, same defensive tackle, same defensive coordinator. What they've been able to accomplish is amazing. And if they're able to pull it off, I mean, that's something that Tom Brady was never able to do. So we'll have to wait and see. But I just think what they have been able to do is special. And look, for some people, they'll appreciate it. For others, they're like, all right, just please lose on Sunday. You got to appreciate it to an extent. So we're going to take our final break of the show now. When we come back, we will talk about the NFC Championship game, because I know we did a segment on the AFC Championship game yesterday, but we'll talk about the NFC Championship game. And, not going to preview it and give you my pick, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk a little bit about it, because this is the third meeting between these two teams, the Commanders and the Eagles. So for one final time today, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.